We begin with breaking news regarding some severe weather we're tracking here at HNN. The National Weather Service says Felicia has strengthened into a Category 2 hurricane. The storm is about 815 miles southwest of the southern tip of Baja California, with maximum sustained winds of 100 miles per hour with higher gusts. Forecasters say a gradual turn to the west-southwest is expected tomorrow, with westward motion expected this weekend. There is no coastal watches or warnings in effect. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty here. We're going to continue to track this storm as it moves in our direction. Still way too far out to tell any impacts that it could have on our islands.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. This is Now. Ashley and Jonathan here. Let's get you those coronavirus numbers. It is a triple-digit day. The State Health Department is reporting 166 new cases today and 1 new fatality. The breakdown by island shows 17 cases on the Big Island, 22 on Maui, 14 on Kauai, 91 on Oahu, 22 out of state, and 10 of those cases are probable. New at noon, the State Education Department just announced that all public school students will receive free breakfast and lunch meals for the entire upcoming school year, thanks to a nationwide waiver from the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The federal government is trying to minimize the possible spread of COVID at schools across the country by eliminating meal payment transactions in school cafeterias. Meanwhile, the Board of Education is meeting right now looking at guidelines to reopen schools. Governor Ige has said that students will need to wear masks. Here's some of the testimony from teachers just moments ago.
Rebecca Hadley-Schlosser. I am a special education teacher at Manikipono Elementary School. This will be my 30th year as a special education teacher. I'm very proud of what I do, but I spent this last school year teaching face-to-face and online simultaneously. I can't believe that we're just 2 weeks shy of school starting and teachers reporting back to work to bring up this discussion on how we're going to implement things for this next school year. I think we need to offer parents the opportunity to choose to keep their children home and participate in online learning if that's what they want. What I'm not in favor of is being the teacher who has to do simultaneous teaching again this year.
You know, as we know, we have a fixed number of teachers that we're working with. And as we look at the distribution of teachers within schools or within complexes, every time we assign a teacher to provide a distance learning option, that removes a teacher from in-person classroom opportunities. And we certainly are not looking to increase the number of students in classes. And so it's a careful balancing act of how we can stretch the capacity we have. We did not get allocations for additional FTEs this year to expand on a distance learning approach. And so we're working within the resources we have. I think that schools and complexes have done a great job. Each complex has a distance learning plan, and those plans are based on school principal input to the complex area and had to be approved by the complex area superintendent.
Now, that was the outgoing superintendent, Christina Kishimoto, speaking there. We have a reporter assigned to this still developing story. We're going to have much more on what is happening here at this board meeting coming up on later editions of HNN. We have new information from an investigation into those troubled Red Hill fuel tanks. Here's Lacey Denise with the latest.
New today, the state says the Navy has not shown its underground tanks are safe from possible significant future leaks. In a document provided to Hawaii News Now by the Sierra Club, the Attorney General's office says an investigation showed the tanks don't meet corrosion protection requirements. And according to a document, the massive steel tanks are already rusting. The state says tanks are not adequately protected, even though there's a concrete layer over the metal. That's because there's space between the the steel and the concrete itself, and that's allowing moisture in. The Navy is applying for a 5-year permit to continue storing the tanks at the Red Hill facility. In 2014, 27,000 gallons of jet fuel spilled from the tanks, and 1,000 gallons of fuel leaked in May. Environmentalists are concerned because the underground tanks sit above a major aquifer. The State Health Department has the final say on whether they approve the Navy's permit. We've reached out to the Navy for comment, but have not heard back yet. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
Check your bank accounts. Payments from the new child tax credit have started going out to millions of American families with children ages 17 or younger. Chris Pallone tells us how it works.
At the White House, President Biden touting the expanded child tax credit surrounded by families who will benefit from the program.
It's historic, and it's our effort to make another giant step toward ending child poverty in America.
The first checks, part of the massive COVID relief bill Democrats pushed through Congress, started hitting families' bank accounts today. For the first time, families are getting monthly payments on top of a credit at tax time. $300 for each child 5 and under, $250 for each child under 17. Families making less than $150,000 a year or single parents making less than $112,000 will get the full amount.
This expansion is one of the most significant things we've seen in a generation.
The White House claims the increased tax credit will cut child poverty by more than half this year. Families with incomes too low to owe taxes will get payments too, potentially helping 26 million children. Democrats eager to remind Americans they passed COVID relief without Republican support.
We are sending taxpayer dollars right back to American parents.
The tax credit and monthly payments are only in effect for this year. Democrats want to make it permanent.
We will be pushing to extend the child tax credit for as long as we possibly can.
Families eligible for the payments will receive them around the 15th of every month through December. The Treasury Department says the average monthly payment to American families under this expanded tax credit is about $420. In Washington, Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Hawaii residents are dealing with the burden of rising prices as pent-up demand drives up cost. We got Sammy Salina here, who's been looking into this problem. What'd you find out?
Right. So consumer prices are up 5.4% from this time last year, which is the biggest year-long spike that we've seen since 2008. And a lot of this, pretty much all of it, has to do with the pandemic. So this is, like you said, pent-up demand. We see that with tourism. A lot of folks are ready to spend money, but the goods and services aren't necessarily there yet. It also messed with supply chain. So things like used cars, they're up like 10.5%.
Wow.
It kind of blew economists' mind, actually, because this isn't necessarily something they expected, but we heard a little bit about the problems with the microchips, that sort of thing. And so it's really difficult to get the supply right now, and naturally those prices go up.
And I know you filed this story yesterday. It's on our H&N digital platforms. What experts did you talk to, and what are they saying?
Right. So local economists, for the most part, they believe that this is going to stabilize in the next 6 months, they hope, because, like you said, the pandemic kind of messed up with that supply and demand, and hopefully things will go a little bit back to normal. But there could be some long-term effects with this as well, and people are kind of concerned about a wage spiral. So when prices are high, then, of course, wages will have to make up for that, and then it just kind of spirals upward, which could be tough to recover from.
Let's get to even more details about this. I know you have some latest local data from May, right?
Right. So this data, like you said, is from May, but pretty typically Hawaii inflation rate kind of follows the national inflation rate. But back then it was at 3.8%, which is still pretty high. I mean, you see the impact of this when you go to fill up your tank of gas at the grocery stores. People, we talked to folks yesterday, and they said, we kind of buy the same things every week, and our grocery bill just keeps going up.
I'm seeing it, and I know here in our state and across the islands, we already deal with those high prices, so it's just, like you said in your article, definitely a burden many people are dealing with. You can find that article Sammy wrote up on our H&N digital platforms. Let's toss it back over to Ashley for more news.
Rent could double for the Downtown Arts Center. Hawaii Public Radio's Noi Tanigawa filed this report.
2 months ago, Honolulu Mayor Rick Blangiardi toured the Downtown Arts Center, or DAC. It's on the second floor of Chinatown Gateway Plaza at Nu'uanu and Hotel Streets. The city owns the space, and when it was made available to the DAC last year, volunteers reclaimed it, trashing dividers, rerouting electric trunk lines and air conditioning ducts, and redoing walls and floors to create a pristine 4,000 square foot gallery. The mayor voiced early support for a heart concept in Chinatown: heritage, arts, entertainment, restaurants, and theaters.
Our agreement with the city is through August.
Sandy Pohl is executive director of the Downtown Arts Center.
We were informed that they are considering doubling our rent.
Currently, the DAC pays $11,000 per month to the city. That's electricity, air conditioning, and common area maintenance for a 10,000 square foot space. A handful of arts partners rent office space, and the gallery operates as a rental. No salaries are paid.
We're booked solid the whole year. I think we have 2 months in 2022.
Pohl says there's been no negotiation with the city about the rent increase.
Basically, they came and they told us what they wanted us to pay. We are trying to make arrangements to negotiate that.
What I think is reprehensible was this property had been empty for years.
Tim Choi is a longtime collector and observer of the local art scene. He's helping to direct community funds toward efforts like traditional ethnic arts for kids and showings of contemporary art that are happening at the DAC.
The artists themselves are beginning to feel empowered, and the people who are also acquiring art are beginning to enjoy buying local artists' works.
The Hawaii Watercolor Association scheduled to show in September, the first month of the proposed $22,000 rent. Hawaii craftsmen are scheduled right after that.
Our game plan was we needed to establish ourselves to make this a happening, and that there's a real need for it. And so we're right now at that crossroads where we have to stabilize the Downtown Arts Center.
With rent set to double September 1st, the Downtown Arts Center is trying to close its funding gap. More information at downtownarthi.org. Noe Tanigawa, HPR News.
City officials say they are open to negotiations. Alex Kozlov, director of the Department of Design and Construction, released a statement saying the city is working with the Arts Center to provide a practical financial agreement while balancing the fairness to other competing art galleries in the area. The popular Maunawili Falls Trail closes today for a 2-year improvement project. Casey Lund takes us there.
You may remember it was just a couple of months back when the Manoa Falls Trail reopened. This is a similar situation. DLNR is shutting down access to Maunawili Falls Trail to give both the neighborhood and the trail itself a little bit of a break. DLNR's administrator for the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, David Smith, says the amount of people visiting the trail had become unmanageable and overwhelming.
Probably 1,000+ people a day, and it had gotten to the point where it was really ridiculous. It was sort of becoming an icon on social media of, pictures of 50 people in the pool, and it was just gotten ridiculous. People parked up and down the streets in the neighborhood, and the trail really getting pounded.
Chris Nakamatsu and other neighbors who live in this area say they're also fed up, not just with the amount of hikers inundating their quiet neighborhood, but their behavior as well.
No, we live in this beautiful valley because we love nature and we love to have some peacefulness. And it hasn't been like that for the last 10 years. To have people constantly parking in front of your home, sometimes using your water hose. One of the neighbors had a hiker who was muddy from head to toe, jump over his fence, jump into his swimming pool, wash off and leave. So it's kind of been very chaotic.
Oahu branch manager for DLNR, Marigold Zoll, says there are more than 100 miles of public trails on Oahu that hikers can choose from during the closure. The department is taking this opportunity to educate those hikers about staying off trails that are not sanctioned.
We got information from the Honolulu Fire Department about rescues, and we noticed that in 2010, when social media really took off, the number of rescues spiked, and that's directly related to, people getting information about places that aren't maintained, that are unsafe, that they may be trespassing. And we'd really like folks to recreate more responsibly.
DLNR says you can still access Maunawili Falls by using the Maunawili Trail. That's just off that hairpin turn on the Pali, but they remind users that you can't actually park there. You do have to be dropped off by someone if you want to hike that trail. Reporting at the Maui Falls trailhead, I'm Casey Lund. Now back to you.
Thank you, Casey, for that report. I wanted to remind everyone, we have this thing called a hurricane tracker. It's on our H&N digital platforms, on our app, on our weather app, on our homepage. And you really want to take a look at that because we're tracking Hurricane Felicia, who is now as a Category 2 storm. That's the breaking news at this hour. Category 2 storm is still way far out to tell how it's going to impact our weather, but we're going to be following it, and you can follow it as well. All you have to do is download the app or go to our homepage and find that hurricane tracker. All right, meanwhile, let's get a check of what the other conditions are outside and get a sneak peek at that oh so important weekend forecast. Here's Billy V.
Thank you very much. All right, let's give you your forecast, not only for today, but as we're looking towards the weekend. First of all, on the waves, south-facing shores getting that swell that's starting to fill in with a little bit of energy there, 2 to 4 feet over on the south-facing shores. East side is 4 to 6. That's more of a trade wind swell, kind of sloppy and choppy. If you're here visiting our islands, you're looking for someplace to snorkel, look at the North Shore. Flat to 2, that's perfect up there. Let's go ahead and show you real quickly the rain and wind trend model. You can see the lighter arrows are the gustier winds. So as we put this into motion, from today, you can see for your Friday, the winds start to pick up tomorrow, 25 miles per hour plus, and it stays pretty much consistent that way through Saturday, Sunday, Monday into next week. Notice not only are the winds there, but also the trade showers as well. And as we look at the 7-day forecast, that's reflective of that rain and wind model that we were just looking at. We start with easterly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour today, partly cloudy skies, drier conditions. Then as we get into the weekend, breezy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then even continues Monday, Tuesday into next week, Wednesday. Once again, this is 7 days out, so we're watching that closely. But once again, that gives you an idea. Hold on to your hats. It's going to be a windy weekend and next week. As always, get the latest on air, online, on your mobile device, and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
As athletes from around the world arrive in Tokyo for the Summer Games, the pandemic is casting a cloud of uncertainty over the Olympics just 1 week out. Tom Llamas has more.
We are following a lot of news out of Tokyo today, several breaking headlines, including this city, the host city, hitting a 6-month high when it comes to new COVID infections, still under a state of emergency, but athletes continue to pour into the airports here, including Team USA's women's gymnastics team. Simone Biles and the entire team arriving here in Tokyo, touching down. Just before she left, she spoke with us saying that she was so grateful to be here.
It'll be different, but it'll be worth it, and at least we get the opportunity to still compete at Olympic Games.
Now, as we mentioned, COVID's still a very big deal here. Certain athletes from South Africa, Croatia, and Kenya have had to isolate because they've had close contacts with someone who tested positive either here in Tokyo or on the flight over. Olympic officials are obviously monitoring those teams and the athletes that came into those close contacts. So again, COVID's still a big part of the storylines here in the Olympics, but it's hard to believe we are less than a week from competitions actually starting, and that's because of a few events, including baseball, softball, and soccer start just before the opening ceremony, so we are getting very close to all the action starting here in Tokyo. Reporting from Tokyo, I'm Tom Llamas, NBC News.
Don't forget, KHNL, your Olympic station.
That's right.
Yep, and we have more Olympic news coming up in just a moment. Meanwhile, we want to talk about what the internet is chatting about today, and this one's really cute. Do you guys remember this guy? This is Clippy. Microsoft is giving the decades-old virtual assistant Clippy a second life as an emoji. Yep, that's right. Clippy debuted on Windows 97 as a small paperclip to help Microsoft users give you hints and ways to get out of trouble. It got the boot 10 years later with Office 2007. After a 14-year hiatus, it resurfaced earlier this year as a single day as an animated sticker for Microsoft Teams. Now ahead of Saturday's World Emoji Day. Yep, that's a thing. Microsoft says it will replace the standard paperclip emoji with an image of the adorable Clippy there. It's part of a larger refresh of more than 1,800 emojis across Microsoft's apps and services. We have 1,800 emojis? I don't know.
I do remember Clippy, though.
The only emoji I use is the heart-shaped cat one, heart-shaped ice cat
That is
one,
your
as you
favorite.
get all the time.
Yeah.
Or Disco Man.
That's right.
I love myself some Disco Man.
That's right. And a rollable TV, yep, that's right, maybe getting closer to hitting the market. So LG has updated the listing for its new 65-inch rollable TV but it's going to cost you a staggering 100 grand to be exact. Yikes. So the TV can roll itself up and into its housing unit. LG's listing still does not have an option to buy, so it's still unclear when it will be available. Experts say don't worry if it's too much for you to afford, though, because if the technology catches on, it will be available at a fraction of that price in the near future. Let's hope so.
Yeah, and we've seen that with technology after technology. It starts off expensive, and then it slowly lowers. And just imagine the implications here. So if you have a mobile display, your dress could be a monitor. My shirt could be a different Aloha shirt every day. So that's what's really exciting about this to me. One more story, right, Ash?
Yeah, speaking of really expensive things, Food and Wine magazine reports that a bottle of whiskey, possibly 250 years old, has sold for $137,000. The publication says the bottle was once owned by legendary American businessman J.P. Morgan. Now, according to the auctioneers, the bourbon is the oldest known whiskey in existence. The front of the old Ingledew whiskey bottle indicates it's from Evans and Raglan in Georgia, and the back features a typed note taped to the glass that reads, quote, "This bourbon was probably made prior to 1865. A needle was used to extract a small sample of the liquid, and it was sent off to testing experts. Scientists used carbon dating to determine that the whiskey was likely bottled between 1763 and 1803.
Wonder what it tastes like.
I know.
Yeah. Imagine some of the speakeasies that are popping up around town would really get into that one.
Oh, yeah.
And appreciate it more than I would. All right, guys, let's play some trivia. Some Olympic trivia with no other than the Jonas Brothers. They have an NBC special coming up on July 21st, so they gave us a little preview. Here it is.
Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm Joe. And I'm Nick. And we're the Jonas Brothers. People sometimes ask me, are you good at anything other than music? And I say, yeah, I'm great at gymnastics. And hurdling. And BMX racing. We're going to test our Olympic knowledge. Here we go. Shot put. Fencing. Long jump. Javelin. Hurdling. 400 meter. BMX. Pole vault. Ice skating. Fast walking. What's it called? Speed walking. Luge. Long distance. Couples luge. Doubles luge. Quad luge. Ooh. Tennis. Badminton. Drinking. Ping pong. There you go. Beer pong. Montreal. Greece. Canada. Tokyo. The United States of America. Rio. These are cities that, but it all counts. Alaska. That's no. Yeah, I think we killed that. Michael Phelps. Serena Williams. Shawn Johnson. Katie Ledecky. Shaun White. Lindsey Vonn. Nastia Lukin. Sonia Richards-Ross. Let the games begin!
Come on, guys. Could have done a little better than
Alaska?
that. Yeah. Again, their NBC special coming up in a few days, really.
Yeah.
21st, right here on KHNL.
Right around the corner. So Meghan Markle, she's developing a new animated series for Netflix. The show centers on a young girl as she steps into power and finds inspiration from influential women throughout history. The working title is Pearl. Meghan will serve as an executive producer alongside David Furnish, who's married to singer Elton John. Last year, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex signed a multi-year deal with Netflix, and Harry is already developing a docuseries about the Invictus Games, a sporting competition he founded back in 2014 for injured or sick veterans and service members.
Way too long without royal news here at This Is Now. Thank you for that, Ashley.
You're welcome. And $23,515, that's the jackpot for a Kaneohe man playing video poker on the Game King machine at the California Hotel. Now, the casino says he got a progressive Hearts Royal Flush on Saturday.
Awesome. Congrats.
Yes.
I never win.
I know.
I know.
Me neither. Having a golden arm from the main street is like my dream.
Oh, we'll get there. We just have to get back to Vegas, Ashley. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this almost Friday. We're almost to that weekend, guys. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a great one.
Aloha.